My wife doesn't drive this car very fast. We will test the car, do acceleration from 0 to 100, and from 100 to 200. We will measure the values on a dynamometer, then we will install new firmware on the car and measure the new characteristics, and we'll have a race.
1, 2, 3.
A delightful contender will be racing today, a 21st-year car with powerful features, very rare on our roads. It costs over $100,000 and looks incredible. Hi, it's Serdjio. I've never taken this long to prepare for a review. It took me a year to prepare for this video. And today we're reviewing BMW X4 M40i, my wife's car. Let me tell you why we chose BMW X4. We considered several options. I offered my wife both Audi and Mercedes, but she said, "No, I want exactly BMW." She used to own a BMW 3E90, she really liked it. My wife drove it for 5 years, and that's how she became a fan BMW. Appetites grow with food. We decided to buy a car with a 3-liter motor, and then an even more powerful one, and that's how we got to $40,000. The car turned out to be very cool, low mileage, official paperwork, no damage, car in good condition. We had maintenance done, a couple of suspension items tweaked, and roughly speaking, invested in a beauty. I mean, it's a detailing, protective films, some black accents, a little bit of finishing touches on the bodywork, and that's all. We did a little bit of styling, nothing else. Speaking of pros. Guys, the car has a very beautiful body. I was generally against these models, but when I saw this M, it is a very beautiful car. The best thing about this car is of course its color and maximum equipment. It has a very cool package. There are cool LED optics, LED fog lights too. The car's light is fabulous. The back is also LED, a lot of light. The modern design looks very fresh. Many people even confuse this body with the newer one. In the range up to 40,000. This is a cool parquet. It is very cool, modern, fast and maneuverable. A few words about maneuverability, guys. There is a sport suspension and, of course, there are adaptive shock absorbers. X6 is a pretty big car for a girl. For me X6 is fine, considering my weight. And X4 is a chic size altogether, it's not too big and not too small. This one is just the right size, it looks pretty solid, yet it's very compact. In fact, it's been more than 6 months, almost a year, and the car has been wrapped in armor film. We put a tuned grille, of course, mirror covers, made black accents all over the body. And even, by the way, they sealed such wheel arches. Of course we painted this grille black, it looks very nice. There are some changes on the rear of the car as well. We added a black spoiler, it looks cool, gloss black. And at the back we repainted the gray diffuser to black. Guys, I'm sorry for some extraneous noises, it's just a big workshop and a lot of people work. We already stopped all production. We're not trying to change the style, we're just adding some touches, some accents, to give some style and some personality and beauty. Of course, we tinted the taillights a bit. The badge BMW was in a silver frame, we, of course, painted it in gloss black. This spoiler is actually quite difficult to choose. They are all made in China or Taiwan, and all are crooked. We chose the manufacturer and looked at the quality of workmanship. It looks very cool, very similar to the original, although the original spoiler for this body did not exist. And, of course, the rear diffuser in black gloss looks cosmic. The exhaust nozzle, we are not going to change it, it sounds very cool. I'll show you all this later. The rear nozzles of 85mm will have exactly the same look, but they will be 100mm in diameter. We kept the original nameplates, they look fantastic, that's the anodized aluminum. Cool color, I really like it. Now let's take a look at the interior. By the way, let's do one take. Look at this beauty standing here. BMW and BMW, blue and blue. It just looks fantastic. We left this motorcycle here on purpose. I think it's a cool accessory, a cool addition, and it would look cool in some garage in a private home. Wouldn't you agree with me? They're different, they're two philosophies, but they complement each other, don't they? What can you say about the interior? Guys, there are almost no changes. I specifically chose a car with this interior, black color, although I like more beige interior, but I chose black. And what I liked the most is the textile center here, and the leather sidewalls, it looks cool. Not cold in winter, and not hot in summer. The seats are heated. And that's what really surprised me, here with such a rich and cool equipment. The car has Ditronics, lane keeping, navigation. Absolutely everything is present here, but there is a mechanical adjustment of absolutely all seats. Of course, we have pads on the thresholds, X4 M40i, and this indicates that there is a rather cool motor here. M55, it is a motor of the same modification with 360 horsepower, which is installed in BMW M2. And in BMW M2 competition they install the engine S55. All elements are covered with shadowline, this is a complete package. Guys, the wheels look great, these are different wide 20s. As far as I remember, the front wheels are 245, 40, R20, and the rear is 275, 35, R20. Inside, we'll show you some more interior highlights, and then I'll open the hood and talk about the engine after all. The interior is cool, I really like it, but I don't like the seats. I like their texture and look, but for me they are uncomfortable and small. Here the seats are like those in BMW 3rd Series, and for me 3rd Series seats have always been too small, I don't fit. Lots of black gloss on torpedo, looks cool, but it gets dirty easily and needs to be cleaned up. Here is the M steering wheel, the original M steering wheel with paddles, all the icons, everything as it should be. NBT Evo, at the time, for the 17th year, it was the top-of-the-line multimedia system, the 6th generation of multimedia from BMW. Everything looks cool, just gorgeous graphics. As for the music, the acoustics are good as Harman Kardon. Subwoofer sounds good, a bunch of speakers, but CarPlay in the car is not. In 17 not yet put CarPlay in cars, but we will do it ourselves soon. Separate terminal, but nothing very interesting in the multimedia. By the way, there is such an interesting feature, in case anyone didn't know. Look, almost all BMW have such keys from 1 to 8, or up to 6, and there is such a strip on the bottom. You run your finger along this strip and lightly touch the buttons, and they work. It looks very cool. It has been used for a long time in BMW. Here is the maximum dashboard. Then there were no LED versions. It is half LED, it looks good. The dashboard reconfigures the backlight itself. When it's light, it's white, when it's dark, it's red. It's the classic amber color backlighting of all BMW for so many years now. I want to install a heated steering wheel here. I think this feature is very cool. And here's more from the interesting points. There's a cool cruise control, it's adaptive, it can even follow the car in front. The auto darkening mirror, of course, the black ceiling, all the delights of the model. There are no handles anywhere, front or back. No side handles. Automatic handbrake, downhill assist, Parktronic, many modes, very convenient to choose. Sport, Sport Plus, Eco Pro and other modes. Such an automatic transmission selector, in principle, this has long been used as a basic set, the maximum for this body. I know that the BMW 7 Series has touch versions and, of course, with a black sapphire crystal. Here is the usual plastic one, that's all. Before we open the hood and talk about the technical characteristics of the car, I suggest opening the trunk, and there is an interesting feature. Let me show it to you. And before shooting, I will tell you about an interesting feature. Here is the BMW, it looks pretty good, it was a normal key for those years. Here are my hands and this function is already here. You'll see in a moment. Here, you can see how it works at BMW. We shot one take on purpose. Guys, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. About the trunk. It's a cool trunk. The trunk has guide rails, things like that, and the trunk has 4 of these 4 fasteners, which you can basically use as hooks. You set them up, and you stretch the grid behind them, and everything is nice and wonderful. This is available. What else should a man have in his trunk? Well, of course this oil. There are some handy niches here. Here's a cool shelf that comes off in a split second. There you go. And you can basically do whatever you want. Here, this is how it's installed. There's a curtain installed like this, to the top of the glass, here. The trunk is electric, so that's what it looks like. In principle, the trunk has never caused us any problems, there were no questions. The engine is clean, everything is perfect. The car now has about 80,000 miles on it, when I bought it it was about 70. My spouse has driven about 10,000 in 1 year. 360 horsepower as standard, 8-speed gearbox, all-wheel drive X-drive from BMW. Acceleration from 0 to 100 in 4.9 seconds. Speaking of the features of this car, guys, one big turbo, cool intake, everything is very nicely engineered here. This motor still has potential, we can get 480 horsepower on stage 2, but we're only going to do stage 1. I think we'll get about 410 horsepower. Write in the comments how much power you think the car will have after stage 1. The cigarette lighter terminals are there too, and the body VIN number is in such a place that it will bend if the car is slightly damaged. A feature of BMW X4 and X3 is that these elements with a VIN code are often ordered not new, and the body number is duplicated there. So if you choose such a car and there is a duplicated code, it does not mean that the car is rebuilt or that the car has been fully repaired, just that these cars have a very unique body VIN number, and it is easily damaged. The motor can handle high temperatures. We already upgraded the thermostat under the oil, and now the oil warms up a little less. Generally speaking, why do BMW make the oil temperature very high? In order to reduce thermal gaps, and this is all done for power and economy. We don't need these super parameters for economy, so we lowered the oil temperature a little bit, in order to prolong the life of the oil and it will retain its functions longer. Now I'm putting the hood down and I think I need to take this car for a ride. Guys, we came to see our friends, the company upstage. Vlad, hello.
Hello.
Vlad, I brought my wife's car. We measured different cars, drove different cars. By the way, there were several of my cars here. Vlad and I met when I was testing mine here. Porsche. Vlad, finally, a whole year I have been getting to know this car and now we are doing a big review. We have taken all the data on the car, acceleration from 100 to 200. Now we are measuring the power in the stock car. Let's see what data we get. And you'll already give your predictions for stage 1, just stage 1. We're not cutting out the catalytic converters, it's my wife's request not to remove anything in the car. My wife has enough power in this car, but I've convinced her she needs more. You will say the predictions for stage 1, 2 and 3.
Okay, good.
Guys, check out the video on how the car is measured, and we'll literally show you the result in a few seconds. Vlad, look, we measured our car. We got 360 horsepower in the stock car. We didn't make any assumptions with you, although I thought, frankly, that we would get 370, and I was a little wrong. Comment.
The car showed 362 horsepower and 503 torque. The graph line is absolutely flat. What kind of gasoline?
Gasoline 95 from SoCar.
It looks like it's not bad gasoline, because the car shows its factory parameters and there's no slack in the graph, nothing like that. Torque, up to 6,500 is fine, then worse, but that's quite a lot.
We'll do stage 1 on this car. You said there are several varieties, depending on what you want. Tell me about it.
Well, look, you can make it for 95 gasoline, it'll be a lighter, more stable version. You'd get about 30 horsepower and 50 to 60 torque. Good version for the city, you can use 95 gasoline.
That is, nothing will burn, it will not stink either.
God forbid.
What's the next option?
You can do stage 1 for purely 98th or 100th gasoline, then we don't put in 95th and get another 10 to 15 horsepower.
We'll get an increase of about 50 horsepower, roughly. And we'll get that coveted 400 plus horsepower. About 410 horsepower, depending on the temperature and mood of the car. And turbo motors have their own mood. And how much torque will there be?
About 70 more.
70. That is, we will have almost 600 Newton meters. There, in fact, 573 at best, maybe even less, but probably almost 600. And we choose the maximum stage 1, the maximum possible. We're not going to stage 2 yet. By the way, a lot of smart people say, here you should. Here you should. It turns out the car already owes someone, even though it wasn't bought on credit. They say it should be B58, but here it is N55, Gen 2 or 3, I don't know which generation. More like General 2, M2 first years.
This is a motor from all M2, because on M2's competition was S55, and N55 was on all M2.
Even in last year's models, only S competition had the S55 installed.
Yes.
Okay, already on the next body, M40 was B58, but here is still N55. How much power can you get on stage 2?
With the replacement of the intercooler and downpipe, we get up to 440.
By the way, let's go back to prices now. How much is stage 1?
450 euros.
450 euros. Stage 2?
Full stage 2, with intercooler costs 1,400 euros.
Intercooler, downpipe and firmware. Stage 3, and what does it include?
There are options here, in any case, replacing the turbine, replacing the intercooler and downpipe. The price will be, I think, about 4,500.
Stage 1 is 410 horsepower, but how much power is stage 2?
Up to 440.
I see. What about stage 3?
It depends on the fuel, 500 plus. We did it on alcohol and got 510 horsepower.
510 is exactly as much as the next body on the S58 motor in X3M or X4M, but in stock. 510 horsepower, the same power can be achieved here. I'm happy with the schedule, the car still has potential. You see, even turbo engines. If the car is well maintained and serviced, and also beautiful, it will always show its power. Now we are going to improve our car. To do this, we leave it to Vlad for a whole night. Here we have to remove the engine control unit, flash it separately, then install it all. And it's under the intake manifold. We're not ready to wait 4 hours, we'll come in the morning and see the result. It's been almost 24 hours, we've checked the car and the firmware. Everything is beautiful, no rollbacks or other problems. I suggest we go to the monitor and see what happened.
The maximum we got, so that there were no kickbacks, was 421 horsepower and 574 inches of torque.
We got about 60 horsepower and almost 70 Newton meters. This is stage 1 for the 100th gasoline, because we planned the 95th, but decided to make it more powerful for the 100th. And I want to tell you right away, a car is different, two cars never show the same result. Although we once had a situation on our channel when two absolutely different cars, with different engines, on the same measurement, on the same day, showed the same torque. It happened to us.
Yes.
Thank you. Guys, we're moving on. Okay, guys, here comes everyone's favorite section, the section Zaruba. You know, it was hard enough to find a rival for this car, but we did. Because the problem is mass. We wanted to get Mercedes GLC, but not with a 4-liter engine. Audi RSQ5 can't handle it. Therefore, the closest competitor is Porsche Macan 21. GTS, 380 horsepower, 520 torque. Acceleration from 0 to 100 is 4.6 tenths, and BMW is 4.9 tenths. But the car will perform well. I suggest we move on to the competition. The competition will be very interesting, from 60 to 200, and of course from 0 to 200. It's a very interesting discipline. Sasha, you're young, you have such a cool car, did you earn it yourself? Or did you get help?
Almost earned it myself.
Good for you, it's not the first time you've competed, thanks for participating. How do you rate your chances?
I think there is a chance, but still BMW has stage 1 and I think it will help her.
The 17th year car, it's older.
I think stage 1 will give a little more power and help BMW win.
And from 0?
I think I have a chance.
You've got a chance. Guys, Porsche is a little weaker, there's a little more than 400 horsepower and almost 600 torque, but Porsche is lighter. And you all know that Porsche goes faster than originally announced. In short, I propose to start the competition, and then summarize the results of the races.
1, 2, 3.
Look, we're being overtaken. Look at the Porsche. Porsche has overtaken us.
1, 2, 3.
Man, that's the wrong gear.
1, 2, 3.
Wow, that feels good. Yes.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Man, this is totally unexpected. It's a tantrum. What do you think of this? There's not enough power. Just not enough. Let's go again.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
God, they're so fast. Oh, man. He just crushed us. I thought we could win today. Guys, we are summing up the results of our races. Guys, BMW X lost in all possible starts. From 0 to 200 and from 60 to 200, that is, a total loss. Do you know why? I thought Porsche was much lighter, but after looking at the documentation I read that it is even a few dozen kilos heavier, although it looks much smaller. Sasha, did you expect this outcome?
Honestly, no. When we drove from 60 I did not even think that it would work, especially the car without improvements.
Are you happy now that you have such a car? This X is the most powerful X for those years, and it is with improvements, but you won.
Yes, I'm very happy to own such a car. I've always been happy about it.
Now I really respect Porsche. This car was able to win with less power and more weight. If you thought that for my wife's car I would choose some weak competitors that I would just overtake one by one, nothing like that, guys. We choose only the top fast cars. That's all for now. We've been with you, Serdjio. It's already fall weather in Kiev, so I suggest we take stock. But we still have a little surprise for you. Of course, what do we have left to do? We are left to measure the exhaust. We will evaluate who has the most interesting exhaust. That is, we will record the sound, and you determine in the comments which exhaust sound you like more. Because the more you put comments, likes, subscriptions to new videos, the more our video will get into recommendations, and there will be more of us. And YouTube will promote our videos even faster and stronger. And that's it for us, Serdjio. Glory to Ukraine. We will win. I suggest we start with Porsche, and then move on to BMW. So, 2 cars. In Porsche Macan GTS the stock exhaust, and in X4 M40i, stage 1 stock exhaust. 2 cars with catalytic converters and original downpipes. Nothing has been changed. Sasha, come on. Do you guys hear that? Sasha, thank you. Guys, the car sounds confident. Now let's see what BMW can do against this, because it has 2 pipes less and they are of a smaller diameter. We'll fix that soon. Now let's listen to the sound of the exhaust X4. Let's go. Guys, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know who to vote for, they're about equal. I really like the sound of the exhaust BMW X my spouse, and I really like the exhaust Porsche. And you write in the comments which one of them won.